Welcome back to a brand new episode of Charm City Beat. The MLB draft is upon us. Orioles had the first pick, and we are going to be covering the top 4 picks for you tonight. Let's get down to it. Jordan, what happened last night?
I was a little on edge about what the Orioles were going to do with that first overall pick. You know, your mind says they should take Adley Rutschman, who was the consensus number 1 overall pick choice, top 200 prospects. But they could have gone with Bobby Witt Jr., who they were going to lose for it all last year. It was a quit for Witt campaign they had. Big-time prep shortstop with comparison to Alex Rodriguez. Also, there was a guy named Andrew Vaughn who won the Golden Spikes Award last year, and probably the purest hitter in the draft. They could have gone any choice. There was also a sneaky rumor that they were going to take a lesser guy that they could afford, maybe allocate more money to other guys, and maybe forego taking the number 1 overall pick. But they ended up taking Adley Rutschman, who is the best player in the draft, period. Considering he's the best prospect since Bryce Harper, a better catcher than Buster Posey. He's the first catcher to go 1 overall since Joe Mauer, who won the MVP award for the Minnesota Twins. So the Orioles, hit the home run here.
Yeah. And again, you don't hear too much about the Orioles drafting in years past, like too much big names, but this is exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some big names, but I mean, in a year where we're rebuilding, where obviously the fan base, if you go on the internet, all you have to do is take a couple of seconds to read the comments and you'll realize they've already fallen off the wagon. This, I feel like, drives more energy into the franchise. More energy, hopefully gets the fan base interested in the next few years.
This was Mike Elias's first draft as the Orioles GM, the
great.
former Houston Astros helper. And, he got a guy that, he was the offensive and defensive player of the year in the Pac-12. He led the conference in batting. He's a premier defender. He's a finalist for the Golden Spikes Award. Probably going to end up winning it, which is the National Player of the Year. And, just last month he was walked with the bases loaded. I mean, that's how much respect teams have for this guy. And he's coming to the Orioles. He's a junior out of Oregon State University, and he's going to be a beast as soon as he gets here. He's a across-the-board, top-rated fielder, hitter, power guy, hit 17 home runs, 58 RBIs this past year, batted .411 for Oregon State.
So I got to ask the question that everybody's asking: how long before he suits up for the Orioles?
I think they're going to take it easy with him the rest of this year. He might go to Aberdeen for a couple of weeks for a cup of coffee. Manny Machado was there for 3 days and was going to Delmarva. I can't see him being there very long. But they're going to move him along slowly. There's no need for him to get to the majors anytime soon. He is 21 years old. But, they want to protect, how long they can have him. So my guess is 2022, maybe the end of 2021. My guess is 2022 he'll be up. And he's got to nurture these starting pitching. I mean, when he was at Oregon State, that was the number 2 pitching staff in the country that he was kind of pitching, catching. And I think it's a lot because of what he brought to the table as a catcher, as a leader. And he's going to have his hands full with this young Orioles rotation, guys like Rodriguez and Delmarva, Dale Hall and Frederick, and Blaine Knight and Frederick, guys that need a good, strong catcher to sort of lead them. Well, we haven't had it since Matt Wieters, and he's better than Matt Wieters.
Jeez, wow. Yeah, so that's already exciting enough. I mean, you start talking names when we were decent. So it's like you got guys better than the guys we used to have. So, hey, that's what we need. So who else did we get?
Later in the night, 42 overall, the first pick in the second round, they took a guy named Gunnar Henderson, Alabama high school shortstop. MLB.com had him as high as 27th overall in the ranking.
Wow.
I think his lowest ranking was Keith Law, had him at 41. So at 42, you're still getting a huge value player here. Comparisons to Corey Seager, the big-time all-star for the Dodgers. Chipper Jones, a Hall of Famer. He's got a good body. He'll end up moving to third base or first base probably. He's got good pop. He's fast. We'll see how he does, but I think he was, he's a big-time prospect, and the Orioles really did a home run with the first 2 picks here.
Obviously, being so young, he's going to be quite a few years.
And they don't have that middle infielder.
Yeah,
They traded away Manny Machado. They got their catcher. Now they got their shortstop, who's probably going to move. But either way, they're building this team from up the middle, which is how you want to build an organization. Ravens did it with Ray Lewis and Ogden, and this will be the same thing.
Yeah.
And the next year, they should pick 1 overall, too, which is also exciting.
Yeah, and again, you got to think, yes, they're not doing that well right now, but if you keep getting these big name picks, look at the Browns, for example. I mean, we'll cross sports and go back to football. The Browns looking probably to be one of the most complete teams in the NFL. That could be the Orioles in a few years.
Yeah, I mean, you stockpile these picks on top of who you've got. You've got Yoenis Diaz already at Bowie. He hit 2 home runs in the Futures game last year, and hits a big ball. He's got easy power, reminds me of Cespedes. So I think they've got the pieces to do really well in a few years, and you add that with an Austin Hayes and a Mountcastle and a DJ Stewart, and looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the future looks bright. You know,
Yeah.
It's based on just the top two. So who else?
They finished off last night. They got a left-handed power bat outfielder from Stanford named Kyle Stowers, who he had a bit of a down year this year, but last year in the summer Cape Cod League, he was one of the better hitters in the country. He had, I think, 6 home runs, batted in the mid 300s for them, and the Orioles like what they saw with this guy. It's a guy that's going to end up. I think he's going to end up as a corner outfielder, but he's got a lot of pop, and I think he could. He's a serious contender to be in that middle of that long Orioles lineup in a few years.
Yeah. And the last pick we're going to talk about tonight.
So they led off today getting a guy named Zach Watson, who is a outfielder from LSU. He was a freshman a couple of years ago, part of that World Series team with the Louisiana State Tiger. But he's a guy he's a speed guy. To me, he projects as a leadoff hitter down the line.
Yeah.
And a big time trade chip if the Orioles want to move him potentially for a pitcher in a couple of years, like the Astros did when they landed Verlander.
Yeah, and I was also going to ask a question because, obviously the top concern overall the fan base is pitching.
Yeah.
Is it a concern that the Orioles did not pick pitching in their top 5?
I don't think so. This is all the scouts are saying this is the worst pitching draft in 30 years. This is the first time, I think, ever that the first 6 picks in the first 2 rounds were all hitters. Huge college players draft. There's not a lot of pitchers out there, and a lot of the pitchers that are out there are projected to be bullpen guys. I don't think the Orioles are missing much. Maybe next year is the year of the pitcher. But if you follow what the Astros did with Mike Elias came from the Astros, they got guys like Keuchel, but for the most part they traded for their arms, their big time arms. I think that's what they might be doing in a couple of years. When they're ready to go, they'll go out and get a guy that wants a contract or they'll trade for a dude, and I think that's what they'll probably end up doing.
Yeah, and it's not a bad move either. You get an experienced guy. You don't have to wait for him to develop too long.
And they've got some stud young pitching. Rodriguez is probably going to end up being the pitcher of the year for the Orioles minor league system. And he's tearing it up at Delmarva. We'll see how he does going up the ladder. Hunter Harvey's allegedly healthy and coming up. So he's a former first-round pick. So they've got pieces that they can at least try to build some sort of rotation. But the team that they have on the field right now, I would kiss them all goodbye. I don't think anyone
You don't think so?
I'd
Even
be
Trey
surprised.
Mancini.
I think Trey Mancini, if the Orioles were smart, should probably trade him because he's not going to be around in 3 years.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay him what he wants. They're not going to want to pay him in a couple of years at all. So I think
they're not going to want to make another Chris Davis mistake.
Yeah, so you trade him now as an all-star, and you could probably get another team's coveted, top 3, 4, 5 prospect. Same with Jonathan Villar. Same with Cashman. I think if you get rid of these guys and then the rest of those guys just funnel out and you replace them with these young up-and-coming dudes. I mean, Bowie's loaded. Delmarva and Frederick are loaded, and they're coming.
Yeah, I mean, essentially you got to trust the process. Yes, they're not doing good right now, as we all know. It's not. Actually, they were leading, the last time I checked. But nonetheless, I mean, drafting, it looks good. I'm excited.
Mike Elias
is doing good.
Elite pipeline. And this is how you do it. You bring in a guy like Rushman, who's going to end up being number 1 overall prospect in baseball in a year, and to face the franchise. And the last 2 catchers that he's compared to, Mauer and Posey, won MVP awards. He's compared very strongly to Bryce Harper, former MVP. This is a guy that's going to be making $300 million in 10 years, and the Orioles might be the team that repays him, but we'll see. But he's going to be the one that's going to help them come back to life here and maybe win a pennant.
Well, let's hope so. We will be covering it more, the full draft next week, actually.
Yep.
But we did want to get the first top 4 picks out. Is there anything else that we need to know?
I don't think so. You're going to see these guys down the line at Aberdeen, most likely. A lot of these guys, if you want to come see them out and play, and the Gulf Coast League. So I think there's a good chance Rushman's going to spend a little bit of time in August in Aberdeen. If you want to see him play live,
That's
I
right.
recommend going. I'm going to go see him.
I will be. We're going. We're Lit 2 field trip. Let's do it. But yeah, that does it for our episode of Charm City Beat. We will continue coverage of this on Facebook and Twitter, and also other videos coming next week over, as we talk about the full draft. So yeah, stay tuned for more and take care.